Hey, what's up guys? AJ from the Indiana Lacrosse Channel here. I have a great and awesome coaches interview, but not just a coach. This is my good friend, Mike Hoffman. He is a coach, but more importantly, he is a dad. And I wanted to make a video for all of you parents and talk about what's it like having a son who is playing at a very prestigious college, and what the process looks like from being a parent. Thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure.
I appreciate you being here.
Happy to do it.
So let's set the stage a bit. Tell us a little bit about how you got introduced to lacrosse, how Nolan got introduced to lacrosse, and kind of what the beginnings of lacrosse was for you.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for having me, AJ. As you said, my name is Mike Hoffman. I've been involved with the lacrosse at all levels. Let's get started how I got introduced. I'm going to have to rewind tape a little bit and go back to 1980. Laying across my parents' bed, I was 12 years old. One evening, watching on TV the Miracle on Ice, the hockey, when the United States defeated the Soviet Union. That night I fell in love with the game of hockey, and that has never gone away. When my son Nolan came along, he shared the love of hockey. When he was younger, we tried to get him to skate. He would always say, "Dad, it hurts my ankles. I want to play hockey on grass." So when he was in 4th grade, we came up on lacrosse and tried that, and the rest is history. He just fell in love with the game, as well as I did.
That's awesome. So what happened? So how exactly did you guys find the sport of lacrosse? Was it through a friend? Was it through like a youth league? How did someone, and especially around what that had to be 2000 and 8?
Oh my, yes, around 2008, yeah.
So I especially here on the south side, because Nolan went to Roncalli.
Mm-hmm.
The south side didn't have very much lacrosse at all here on south side of Indy. So how did you guys actually find it, right? Because hockey, and that's very close to lacrosse, but what exactly happened?
Well, at the time, we were living in Center Grove, in the Center Grove area, and we knew some people who played lacrosse. So I contacted one of the youth coaches at that time, and I said, what's this game about? He explained it to me a little bit. Once again, starting from square one, because being raised in southern Indiana, we did not have lacrosse. Growing up, I couldn't spell lacrosse because it just wasn't available.
Right.
So I talked to him and learned a little bit about the game, and talked to my son, with that idea that he had that he wanted to play hockey on grass. So we kept going. He decided to try it out. He fell in love with the game, and I fell in love with the game.
That's awesome. What made you fall? How did you know when you fell in love with the game?
I knew I was in love with the game when I grew up playing baseball, as most kids my age. Played high school baseball, loved to watch baseball. When I could no longer watch baseball because it was too slow, I knew lacrosse was my game.
That's awesome.
It was so fast. It had so much of hockey in it, but it also had so much of other sports in it. Basketball's there, just a lot of different combinations. So it happened pretty quick. We started playing games, and just to see the pace, and the substitutions on the fly. Yeah, that was it for me.
So as a parent, kind of going off that same thing, as a parent, how did you know when Nolan fell in love with the sport? When did you know that was the sport? Like you said, Nolan wanted to play hockey on grass, but when did you know that it was time to turn up the heat almost?
Nolan, throughout this whole process, he's always been the guy. I've always taken his lead. I could just see his hunger and his thirst for the game. He wanted to get better. He never complained about going to practice. He enjoyed it. And I could see when he competed in the games that he was really having a good time, and really enjoyed competing. As we went on, he started playing at higher levels, which we'll talk about a little later, and he had success. And that made it fun for him, and he just wanted more and wanted more. So as a parent, I did all I could to foster that interest and give him every opportunity that I could.
Right, and obviously that came in the aspect of coming on as a coach as well. And so, when did you decide, okay, I want to be a part of this, and really when did you decide, all right, I want to learn more about it, I want to invest more into it, like we're going in now?
Mm-hmm.
When was, I guess, more or less for you, when was that decision? How did you know, or what indicating factors?
Yeah, like I said, I saw a lot of the similarities in other sports. And although at the time maybe I didn't understand the game well, I knew how to coach from coaching other sports, and I knew that those skills could be used in coaching lacrosse. It really, I watched a lot of videos, YouTube videos, watched a lot of lacrosse on TV to learn. And as I started coaching, it just all started to come together, using the skills that I had from coaching previous sports and learning the game.
Nice.
It wasn't difficult.
Yeah. So Nolan started when you said he was 4?
Fourth grade.
Fourth grade. Okay. So you guys grew up in the Center Grove feeder program. Was that the Center Grove Roncalli combination? Because from what I've understood is that Coach Cross, who we've had on the show before, started, and him and John Callender started the Center Grove Roncalli kind of South Side lacrosse world. Was that kind of in that same time frame, or?
Yeah, Center Grove has always had their own youth league, as they still do. As we started moving and Nolan started moving forward in the sport, I saw the writing on the wall that hey, he's going to Roncalli. He's not going to Center Grove. And there were several other players that played in the Center Grove youth league as well. So I saw, and I've like, we need to get something like this going for the boys that will feed into Roncalli. So that's when Indy Junior Rebels was formed. Just with that purpose in mind, that these boys needed some lacrosse before they got to high school, to learn the fundamentals and the basics.
Right, and that's so important to get there, to know the fundamentals before getting to high school. So what was your experience like, in yours and Nolan's, but what was your experience like with the youth program, or with that being the Center Grove or the Junior Rebels program? What was that experience like?
Looking back, I really cherish those memories. It was we had a lot of fun. It was about learning the game, how to play the game the right way. Just good memories. Trying to keep the kids active, trying to get them to enjoy the game of lacrosse, because ultimately, as a youth coach, that's your number one job, is to teach the fundamentals and the basics, but you want to make it fun because you want them to come back. And that's what's important, is you want them to come back. You want to foster that flame that turns into the love of the game, because that's where you get your high school players.
Gotcha. So moving on in the high school, so tell me about your experience. And I've had a lot of experience with you over my time at Roncalli, but tell me about your experience with high school, and what that looked like. Even not only just, well, let's focus on high school and then we'll go to travel. But
Sure.
what was your experience like watching Nolan, and that experience? What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was very rewarding, to watch him grow. My son is unique. Nolan is unique in the fact that he's a goalie. So he's always been a goalie. That's all he's ever wanted to do. Why? I don't know. God only made so many people
that's so true.
that want to do that. Something I would never do. But in high school, I just wanted to continue coaching and applying what I had learned, not only about the goalie position, but about the game itself. I wanted to share my passion and love of the game with players that are playing in high school. Some of which came up through the youth programs with me, so that helped. They had a familiarity with me. I think it helped. When they got to high school, maybe they weren't so nervous because hey, Coach Hoffman's here. It was an enjoyable experience. One I'll look back on with fond memories.
Yeah. So on the side, right? So high school ball is its own thing, but let's talk a minute about travel. What does travel look like? Not only from your perspective here, but because you and Nolan, I mean, just watching and knowing you guys, that you guys really went, pedal to the metal, full steam ahead. You want to compete? All right, let's do what we need to do to compete. So what did you guys do with travel to the point where you could say that you could put Nolan in that position to compete and to be able to be on that highest level possible?
Yeah. Looking back, I think it really has to do with your student athlete and what they want. Do they want more? And I think that's pretty easy as a parent to tell.
Yeah.
To tell. If lacrosse is something that they just enjoy playing, but when they're done with practice or when the season's over, they're done. They want to put their sticks away and go have fun and do other things. That's fine. That's fine. Travel is probably not for that student athlete. But in our situation, Nolan, he wanted more. He asked for more. So I just sought out opportunities where he could play with some players from other schools, and that just really blossomed. The relationships that he built from doing that, the improvement that he made as a player. Once again, I just really paid attention to him. He wanted more. He wanted more. So each step of the way, we kept giving more, or gave him every opportunity that we could for him to continue to grow as he wanted.
Gotcha. So, so let's transition to that. And so, excuse me. Nolan's obviously playing at Colorado Mesa, one of the best Division II teams, right? Division II, yeah.
Division II.
Yeah,
yes.
Division II teams that there is. Absolute monster of a team. What was that process look like? What did that process look like for you guys, going from, his junior year to senior year, looking at schools, talking to schools? What processes did you guys go through? What did that look like?
Yeah. We really started probably freshman year, I would say.
Okay.
And not hardcore recruiting, but this is something that we got into as kind of a hobby, and we still do this to this day. That anytime we would travel, we would visit a college campus, and we still do that. We still enjoy doing that. But while he was a freshman, we were just kind of in that process of looking at colleges. Trying to figure out where in the country would you like to go, what size campus, what do you want to study, just, trying to form that picture in his mind where he could see himself as a student athlete. Then when we started to get into the lacrosse aspect, we would go to tournaments and there would be college coaches there. So, then you start getting into reaching out to college coaches, telling them that you're going to be at a tournament, give them all your personal information, so they could come and see you play. And we had a lot of success with that. And as you continue to grow and get more experience, that just continues to grow. You get more and more coaches that are responding, that you're corresponding with, and it's really just something that grows on itself. And you have, the most important thing is the player and the parent and the family. If this is what they want to do, and if you have realistic expectations, you need to be in charge of this. You need to get yourself out there. You need to be the one corresponding with coaches, because it's very.
You as the parent, or you as in like the kid?
Well, Nolan is the one that did the work. I was there.
Okay.
I was there to guide him and to give direction and suggestions. But to sit back and say, well, Coach so and so from X university is going to find me, That very rarely happens.
Yeah.
Very rarely happens.
Yeah.
You know,
So that's what happened with Colorado Mesa then. So you guys were able to find them, correspond with them, and then you guys went out to visits, obviously. Was there a tryout process, or was that just recruitment like, hey, we like Nolan, we've seen him, we've seen what he can do? Can we have him kind of a thing?
Yeah.
Like,
well, you know, we've traveled. In our travel, we've gone from San Diego to Maine. We've traveled all over the United States playing lacrosse, and we both agree, when it's all said and done, we feel the best recruiting event is done right here in Indianapolis around Thanksgiving every year. It's a U.S. Lax event. I think it's the top 180 showcase.
okay.
Forgive me if I didn't get that right, but it's at Grand Park. The amount of coaches that are there and the amount of contact that you get, quality contact that you get with college coaches, was really unlike anything we came across. And what I'm getting at is, I think Nolan's sophomore year, he played in that.
Okay.
And I said that coaches don't find you, but now I'm kind of get back to that. Colorado Mesa was there, and they had sent out an email. I'm sure it was a broad interest email. You know, this is who we are. We didn't really know about the school, so we started corresponding. You know, we responded to that email, and you know, the coach, you know, following all the NCAA communication guideline rules that he was bound by, but you know, we did have correspondence, and over the years we kept it up. We went on the road to watch them play, so we wanted to see how's the coach after a victory, how's the coach after a loss, how does the team act on the sidelines, how do they react to their coach. We wanted to see all that. So you know, we checked out in that aspect. Then we decided, you know, they came about midway through our recruiting process. We had visited quite a few schools, and we said, you know what, he's been really responsive, Coach Vince Smith at Colorado Mesa. Let's just go out there for a prospect camp, just to see what it's about. Well, we went out there, and everything was a check. The campus was the right size for him, is what he was looking for. The social aspects seemed right for him. The town seemed right for him, you know, surrounding the college. The coaching staff seemed right to him. The facilities seemed right to him. The players seemed right to him. Everything just checked all the boxes. So we really knew then that was somewhere we really wanted to focus on. You know, once again, we continued. After the prospect camp, there was continued interest. We continued to watch them play. We corresponded with them. And, you know, when it was time to come to make a decision, they said, you know, we want to have you on campus for a visit. We want you to officially meet the team, have practice with the team, get to know the guys, you know, see what the guys think you would be a good fit with the team. Then, and that was done. We received the offer.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And again, I'm super proud that he's going where he's going. And so let's make a little transition, because Nolan hasn't been to college yet. So that's kind of the end of the story there. But let's refocus on your time as a parent, going back, because kind of right now, like you're done. You know, like he's gotten to the point where now he's in college, and now he's out of the house, and he'll be practicing, and he's under the responsibility now of, technically he's an adult now, and he's got to do it on his own. So reflecting on your time as a parent and as a coach and all these things, I'd like to get your perspective on if you were to give advice to new parents, whether they are a senior in high school parent, who, you know, their kid's starting for the first time, they're 1 year before they go off to college, or they're in 4th grade, right? That advice that you would just give back to them. How should a parent learn more about lacrosse?
Sure. You know, as I've touched on a couple times during our conversation, I think it's very important that you pay attention to your student athlete and what they're looking for out of this. They're going to let you know when they want more, and they're going to let you know if what they're getting is sufficient.
Yeah.
I think as a parent, number one, don't be intimidated. I started right where they're starting. I didn't know anything about the game of lacrosse. Like I said, I couldn't spell it in high school. I couldn't spell it when I was 30 years old. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So don't be intimidated. Learn the game. Have conversations with your boys. Let the boys teach you about the game, because I see when the boys start playing, there's this joy. They're learning all this new stuff, and very rare does a kid not fall in love with the game of lacrosse.
Right.
But just talk to them. If they use a word that you don't know, ask them what it is. If they start talking about a slide, well, what's a slide? What's that? What's the right way to throw and catch? Why is this a penalty? Things like that. Don't be intimidated. I think coaching in the youth ranks is an awesome way to learn the game. It's like like I did. I often hear, well, I can't coach because I don't understand the game. Well, in the youth, it's really translates to other sports. And it's, like I said, it's about making sure the boys enjoy the game so they want to continue to play. I think that's one of the most important things outside of teaching basic fundamentals that we can do to foster the game and to grow the game, is make sure the kids fall in love with it. So they want to keep playing.
So they want to work hard.
So they want to work hard, yes.
Okay. I like that, especially the one about don't be afraid to ask questions.
No, don't be intimidated.
Yeah. And you also mentioned getting involved. So that checks off one of my questions. So how should a parent, and again, you said this and we're just kind of going over everything, but what are some good ways that a parent can invest? Right? When are some good times that they can invest in and intentionally growing that conversation? Or what are ways that you invested in Nolan's growth? Because you've told me a little bit about how you made him do a wall ball regiment and stuff like that. But what did you, or how can other parents intentionally grow their kid? Right? They say, all right, mom or dad or whatever, I want to play college ball. I want to play college lacrosse. Right? What do you do as a parent then? How do you not necessarily react, but what do you do then to foster that growth so that they say, this is my dream, I want to play college lacrosse. Okay, I want you to get those dreams. What do they do? How can they get their kid there?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's something that I thought of myself. I realized that I had to step outside my little circle and look for help and look for answers. What do I need to do? When Nolan was younger, and Dad, I want more. Okay, so I started asking questions. What do I do? As far as wanting to play in college, one thing I think is important is, number one, you need to be realistic. The player needs to be realistic. You need to be realistic with your player. Get a good evaluation from someone that says, could he play in college? What level? Just to get a good idea. I often tell the boys that I coach and work with, if you want to play college lacrosse, you can play college lacrosse. Now, did I say you're going to play for Notre Dame or Duke?
Right.
No, I did not say that.
Right.
But there are so many opportunities for boys to play in college, and girls for that matter.
Yeah.
So I would recommend seeking outside guidance. Once you notice that your athlete wants more, don't be afraid to ask questions. Hey, what's the next step? What do I need to do? Where do I need to look?
What is there any advice that you want to give any parent outside of anything that we said? Is there any other kind of advice that you'd want to give to a parent in the sense of this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do, this is how you should not necessarily, this is coming a bit from bias. This is how you should treat a coach. This is how you should treat the ref. This is, whatever. But outside of really any of those things, is there any kind of advice that you would just look, from the bottom of my heart, this is something I wish I had known when I was getting into this? What would that be?
Yeah, lacrosse, to answer that question, lacrosse has a very, very deep history going back to Native Americans. And I always talk to my son and players about that tradition and how this is a game that really needs to be played with respect. Respecting the other team, certainly respecting the officials, fans. Any player, I do not tolerate talking to officials. Or yelling at officials. I just do not believe in that coming from the players. Nolan, I always raised him that after a game, win or lose, if they made some bad calls against him, you always go up and thank the officials for their time. I think that's important. That all comes with the process. Just respect. I think that's an important part of lacrosse. I think for a parent, this would be a good activity to have with your son or daughter, your athlete. Is watch a movie called Broken Arrows.
Yeah, keep going.
I don't know. I think it just gives a good idea of what we were just talking about. How the everything, how it all comes together, the history of the game and everything.
It's actually actually a good idea. Crooked Arrows was such a.
Is it Crooked Arrows? Did I say broken? I can't even remember if it's broken
Crooked
or
Arrows,
crooked.
I think.
It's crooked.
I
always say broken. I don't know if it's
Crooked Arrows was such an integral part to my lacrosse career, because I remember my first spring game was against Butler, and we had a guy who lived in Indy, and we all went to his house before, and we watched the movie at his house before the game. And it is a great conversation piece to have with your kid. Not only about just the aspect of the game, but you can go anywhere from its corniness, its cheesy lines, it's a goofy movie, but it really does, that respect that you were talking about. And you can talk about the history because it covers all these things, and it's a fun way to bring up that conversation of toughness, of the the ability to be aggressive, the ability to hit someone hard, or that restraint. It's that gentle giant of I could still crush you, but I'm not gonna, kind of, that I think needs to be held in this sport. So that's actually really good. I think that's really awesome. Just as another question, what did you have Nolan do to prepare to grow as a sport, but what did you have him do to prepare for college? You said you've been doing this so often, but lacrosse-wise, what did you do to prepare him for that next level?
I've always tried to work with him on, knowing that I saw that he wanted to go to college. I've tried to work on a process with him, meaning, you've got a lot of things going. You have school work, you have lacrosse work that you need to get done, you have free time, social time, you have time you need to sleep. I've worked on, that process with him, trying to let him know what to expect. Get your schoolwork done, get your lacrosse work done, then go have fun. Go have fun. Don't try to procrastinate and put things off. Just work on that process and make sure you're getting good sleep and you're eating well. That's probably the biggest thing that I've done to prepare him mentally. Is learn how to handle all aspects that you will face. Back to when you're talking with your athlete, lacrosse is a very difficult game. It's a difficult game to learn. It can be very frustrating and very humbling, certainly. When you're talking to your athlete, and this is something I probably wasn't always the best at, be patient, be empathetic with them. Once again, we're trying to foster that love of the game. Celebrate the small victories. I think that's important to, once again, to foster that desire, to fan that flame, so to speak. to keep them playing, because there's going to be plenty of bad moments and bonehead things that they do. Really try to focus on the small victories. Once again, you try to keep that flame burning. That's important.
I think that's so big. That's a huge point, I think, that needs to be made. And even honestly, as coaches, I think that's something we should be taking away more. Is we need to be celebrating the small victories, because there are so many. I've said this before on the show before, but lacrosse is a game of mistakes, right? And it's how you respond to those mistakes is what really is really what shows your character, right? It really shows you how you are as a player. But that also goes into lacrosse is a game of mistakes, so let's celebrate the small victories that we get.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so as a parent, I think that's big. And even on the car rides home saying, hey, what did you do good? What did you do bad? Well, I did really bad on this, but I did this, right? Well, let's focus on that one good thing, right? Because then that does fan the flame of maybe I'm not, and that player is, maybe I'm not so bad at this because my parent is encouraging me to do that. And I think, for me, looking back on it, my growth as an athlete definitely came from my dad. A lot of my fond memories of my dad have been from working. My dad helping me hit a baseball. Growing up, my dad helping me throw a football, catching, whatever. I wanted to say I wanted to go to the next level in soccer. He pushed me to that next level in soccer. For the growth of an athlete, if you really want to get to that next level, I think it does stem from parents, but they also got to know, what to do to get their kid that way.
Yeah.
And you and Nolan have been just a model of how to do it right.
Thank you.
So I appreciate you being on the show.
My pleasure. Anytime.
Is there anything else we're missing? I keep saying that, but
yeah, something I think is important to foster love of the game is we have a very unique opportunity here in Indiana, in the fact that Notre Dame is South Bend is 2 hours from Indianapolis, 2 to 3 hours, easy drive.
Yeah.
If you have that lacrosse player who's really starting to get rolling, take a Saturday or a Sunday and go to Notre Dame in the spring and take in the campus and watch a lacrosse game up there. Nolan and I did that. We used to do that all the time and just really enjoyed it. And that helped to foster the love of the game, to see that high level. What are the high level guys? What do they look like? That's something that I recommend. I mean, just a day in South Bend at Notre Dame in the spring is beautiful in itself.
You're right, yeah.
To see a lacrosse game, to see a high level, and the nice thing is tickets are very reasonable, and so to take a family, it's a fun day, and it's very inexpensive, and just a really good experience.
Awesome.
To do. So that's something I would recommend.
Awesome. Notre Dame. I mean, you can't go wrong with Coach Corrigan.
I do think it's important as the athlete progresses that the parents, they love the game too. I think that relationship is really what fuels the player to want more. If their parents are involved in the fact that they enjoy the game, they like the game, they're providing the opportunities that they want to get better. That's important. And, as the travel programs, as you play in those, I think it's important to play against the best competition you possibly can, because once again, going back to your athlete, if they want to go and play at the next level, play in college, I think it's just so helpful and really necessary to see, hey, where do I fit? Where are the best guys? What do they look like?
Right.
What do I need to do to get there? I think that's important to see that and to play against that. One nice thing, and probably from my standpoint, watching my son go through the process, the most rewarding thing that I take away from all of it are the relationships that he built.
Yeah.
It's very rare that we would play a high school game that we don't know the coach through travel ball, or certainly a large majority of the players on the team. Some of his best friends to this day he met playing travel, stepping outside of his comfort zone that he might never have met. And that's that's a huge benefit that I see with travel programs and getting athletes from all over.
That's awesome. thank you, Mike, so much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Anytime.
We'll definitely take you up. We'll definitely do a goalie segment here soon. But that's all for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys like this video, please like. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button. Tell us down below what colleges that you want to play for, or what colleges that you're playing for now. Put those in the comments down below. And remember, guys, my name is AJ, and my goal is to grow the sport of lacrosse in Indiana, and I can't do it without your help. And so, until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. Butched it, but you know I'll make it work.